Yep.
We are live.
We are as alive as we are capable of being.
Well, I haven't died in the last few hours that I know of, so I think that we'll be okay. Good evening, Facebook and YouTube. Welcome to Left Unsupervised. Sorry, my computer just gave me an announcement that I have to give my cat advantage, which is always fun. I'm popping up on my Facebook to see the broadcast here so that I can make sure everything is running and the right things here. I don't know what I'm doing. Never mind what I'm doing. Right. I know I'm the little engine that can't today. The little engine that couldn't.
Yeah. Well, normally, you know that I'm not a subscriber to astrology, but this moon in Scorpio was a bitch. That was, yikes. I have never seen so many Void Scream memes, and since I'm the person who started the Void Scream Twitter hashtag, as far as I know of, damn, that caught on. But I'm so happy to contribute to culture in my own warped way. So, yeah. So, hi, everyone. I'm Diana Rachel. This is Nikki Jobin. For those just wandering in that are new, we are the owners of Golden Apple Metaphysical, which is a startup that is based in San Francisco Bay Area. And right now, Nikki's coming in from the Bay, and I'm coming in from Southwestern Michigan.
I like how you call us a startup. I feel very techy.
Well, you know, this way, when we have a chance to ask for money, we can point out that we are a startup. And if people are bored with tech, hey, we could actually fit into San Francisco history and tourism.
Okay, I never say no to people giving me money.
No, especially not lately.
Not after the pandemic. I once the bar reopens, I'm going to have to still keep my other job just so I can pay off my debt.
Yeah, I have had to do some interesting things to stay above water. So, including a massive lifestyle scale back. So, yeah.
But you know what? I'm excited about the future. This, the past, I want to say week or two, we've been working on the reopening plans for the bar. Those of you who know me know that I work at Martuni's Piano Bar in San Francisco, which is probably the last piano bar left in San Francisco at this point. We've been closed for the duration of the pandemic, and we are very excited to say that we are working on reopening plans right now. So the future, for me at least, is looking pretty bright.
See, and unfortunately for health reasons, I can't really consume alcohol anymore. So I'm looking forward to going back and listening to the music and just ordering a Sazerac so I can smell it.
Or we could order you a Prohibition Daisy.
Is that anything like a Sazerac? Because nothing replaces the absinthe.
No, it's nothing like a Sazerac. It's actually a non-alcoholic drink that you could actually imbibe.
Okay, I will try it. I will try anything once.
There we go. Speaking of the future looking bright, convention season has been going all year round, but I'm very excited to talk about our topic for tonight, which is Between the Veils. This is a brand new convention that's on the horizon. And if you were a supporter of PantheaCon, this is the convention that is taking the slot. As we all know that in 2020, 2020 was the last PantheaCon.
Yeah, and that was on purpose. That was not because of COVID. That was just the last PantheaCon. And you know how I said that every PantheaCon I had this what fresh hell is this?
Fair.
Damn, hell of a finale.
Yes. And while, love PantheaCon, hate PantheaCon, I have a lot of wonderful memories. I made amazing connections there. And you know what? So many wonderful people. I loved my time at PantheaCon. And as we both, you know, and a lot of people that know me know, I had a lot of my magical awakening happen through my dealings at PantheaCon.
Yeah.
But now we have a brand new convention on the horizon. I'm super duper excited about these guys. For those of you that don't know Between the Veils, they're a nonprofit organization. Their aim is to provide the community education. Well, they want to provide community, which is something that's really close to my heart. Provide community education in a safe space for magical, indigenous, and diasporic practitioners of all paths. So it's like people that have gone by the wayside or have been ignored in the past, like they're being seen now. And this is, as a practitioner that has not followed a traditional path, knowing that other people are being seen now Like, I want to cry because it touches me like that. And I don't cry because I have no soul. Let's be honest.
Because you have to be, you are such a cream puff. But yeah, it's actually a really good thing. They're also part of the cultural shift from, there has been this attitude towards a lot of pagan authors, and I'm not speaking just for myself. This is something I've always had an issue with, even when I was still on the consumer side of things. But where a lot of these authors and artists will go to these cons and be asked to go to these cons and to teach at them. And not only they're expected to pay for the privilege of teaching, they are frequently treated as though they are owed instead of given any support in exchange for what essentially makes these cons worth coming to.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something I've always had a big problem with, especially since going to any convention or festival, it's usually easily $1,000 out of the presenter's pocket.
Wow.
Most of the time.
I think about how much I've spent to be able to go to cons, and I can only imagine, you have to haul all your cookies out there as a presenter, and if you're selling things, that's an added expense.
Yeah, food, gas, transportation, place to stay.
Mm-hmm.
If you have kids, then you have childcare. But yeah, it can be a lot.
I just want to read their vision, and I'm actually going to put it up on the screen here. Their vision is to create a truly inclusive community that allows people from all over the world to connect with each other through empowered and equitable experiences. Now, let's just stop and look at that for a minute. Empowered and equitable. Like, that's a really strong vision there, because it's not just about, it's not about the people that we know and that we see and that have always been kind of at the top of the food chain. It's for everybody else that has so much to offer, and they just haven't gotten that opportunity.
Yeah.
So without further ado, I would like to welcome our guests. I have Nikka Tahan and Jonathan Quant. All right. Oops, we're going to pop you in.
So are we bringing them in from backstage? Welcome, welcome.
Hey there.
Thank you. It's so lovely to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming in.
Great. So how about you start off, but why don't you give us your elevator speech about what got you started for this con? What gave you the idea to start this? Hi.
Nikka, I'll give you that one.
Yeah, so the initial inspiration for starting Between the Veils, happened, when we heard, a group of us heard that Pecan was no longer going to be Pecan. And there was potentially going to be this huge vacuum left. And simultaneously, this was happening with a lot of challenging conversations happening in the community, a lot of challenging conversations happening around Pecan and cons in general, and the magical community as a whole. And we kind of wanted to take it as an opportunity to really hear and address some of those issues that have been happening. All of us that started BTV are people of color, women, trans, and queer folk, if not all of the above. And so I think we all came from communities that both really benefited from and loved the environment of being able to come together, but also experienced some of the hurt. We also had a lot of low-income people join the board pretty early on. Diana, speaking to some of the things that you talked about in terms of, not paying presenters, kind of the challenges of being a part of PantheaCon in kind of more meaningful ways than just coming and showing up. And so, yeah, I think that all of those things together just provided this really somewhat sad, but also beautiful opening for us to create what we're in the process of creating.
Okay, so you're mentioning that the lower income people coming, and this is something that I heard when I even first moved to San Francisco. One of the big complaints with PantheaCon is even at the fairly low admission price, a lot of people couldn't afford it. They did feel very excluded. So what is Between the Veils doing to address that inequity?
We're trying to do a couple of things differently than PantheaCon did. One of them is providing a sliding scale for folks. So for our upcoming online event in May, we're providing a sliding scale from 25 to 75, however much people want to give. We have been having conversations about how we can offer a scholarship program for low-income folks that want to be involved. A really big thing that we're doing right now is we are trying to encourage as many people as possible to participate in our program, to be a speaker. We're not just looking for the super famous authors. We're not just offering like Lon and Starhawk, although we are Starhawk is speaking at our May conference. But we're not just looking for those big name pagans. We want people from the community. We want Between the Veils to be a community supported event. And one of the things that we're doing also is paying our presenters. As you mentioned, PantheaCon did not pay or support the presenters really. It was just sort of like, okay, you're going to speak, here's a time slot, there you have it. We want to make sure that we are supporting our speakers and supporting the event. So paying our speakers is a big thing that's really important for us also.
And I know that part of that is the Patreon, which I am a contributor to. I'm not sure. I think Nikki is
Thank
too.
you.
I'm not sure. Hey, if things that support change are a good thing, and sometimes that takes some backing up, and I happen to be in a position to do it. So just like I'm very proud to support Wicked Grounds. So, so I know one of the things, because this is one, the pandemic has been a challenge in and of itself. And what are the challenges that you've had in putting this together? So it looks like you've got a decent lineup for an online conference, especially for our first time. So, and you got Starhawk, which is awesome. So, but you know, you do need the big name frequently. That does make a difference in getting the other people on board. So what were your challenges in getting people, and what have your challenges been in pulling this together?
Well, we're a new organization, and all new organizations, and particularly nonprofits, fight an uphill battle, really, to get people interested and involved and hearing about us. That's really the biggest thing. People know PantheaCon. People knew that name, especially in this community. And right now, we are trying to not only get those people who knew and loved and participated in PantheaCon, but also open up our community even further to folks who felt left out because of PantheaCon, particularly marginalized folks, people of color, trans folks, and queer folks, and people who PantheaCon, their traditions didn't speak to them. Their traditions weren't respected or safe even. We're doing our best by our community standards and guidelines, which we'll talk about, to make sure that we are we're not supporting any cultural appropriation. And so some of these things are a lot of work to negotiate with speakers and to find presenters who can respect those guidelines and work within those guidelines as well. It's been a lot. Starting a nonprofit is so much work. If you haven't started one before, I don't recommend it, like, at all. Don't do it. Just stop and think about what you're doing.
And just for folks who might not know, that is part of the thing that's been a big shift as well, is the fact that PCON was a for-profit event, and we are creating a nonprofit event. So that has, like Jonathan said, it's really challenging to both try and put together an event while simultaneously getting a board and writing bylaws and dealing with the IRS and waiting for letters. And so kind of trying to get both of those things simultaneously has been a labor of love. So hopefully people can feel that when they interact with us and when they come to our events, and when they see us, hopefully they can feel that it's been a labor of love from community for community.
That's awesome. I was looking earlier. I was looking at the website and the bios. So I'm going to put the website back up there. I have the Patreon up, and unfortunately, I can only do one at a time. It doesn't let me do both. But when I was looking at the bios, there was a little blurb at the bottom that said that you're still looking for spots on the board, that you still have those openings. Besides that, how else can the community come together and support this event and support you guys?
Yeah, so I would say for like the immediate future, definitely, you know, if you can come to our May event and you know you're able to afford a $25 ticket, which we know is still for some people can still be pricey, and we hope also if folks for some reason feel limited financially to be able to participate, that you know they're always welcome and open to reach out to us, and we will do our best to try and find a way to be able to provide the resource to as many folks as we possibly can. And at this point, definitely either coming to our May event, becoming a Patreon. We also have a Get Involved form that is up, I believe, on the website as well as on our Facebook page, which people can fill out. We're always looking for volunteers for things. If being a board member is too much of a time commitment, we would love people to share and like some of the things that we share on social media. And then we also have some advisory positions. So this is one thing that, you know, we also want to let folks know that we're super involved in PCON, that have that experience, that have that knowledge. We do have a lot of folks that are still supporting us and advising us as we move forward, and there's space for that. For folks that have done other events before, we want to hear your voice. For anybody that has any experience in life, we think that there's a place for you to share your wisdom and your knowledge and your understanding and your magic if you want to and you feel safe and comfortable to do so. So there's really a huge myriad of ways to kind of get involved and be involved in the community at this point.
In addition to the online conference that we're doing at the end of May, we're also going to start hosting some online workshops for people. So we want, and this is like super community involvement. We are like not looking for big names with this. We're looking for people who have a story, who have a practice that they really want to share with others, who maybe aren't able to have a voice because they aren't super popular or because they are part of a marginalized community that is super overlooked. So we want to give voice to people and to those practices, and offering some online workshops in whatever format you would like to host those in. I think that would be that's a really fun way. So if you have a practice that you were like, I want to share this with all of the Between the Veils followers, let us know. Write us in, talk to us on Facebook. We are here for you. We want to serve the community more than we want to serve Between the Veils. And I think more than I got the feeling that PantheaCon was really serving PantheaCon and less the community. And that's where we're coming from. We want to serve the community specifically. We want to give back to the community as much as possible. I'm not into this to like make a big name for myself. I'm not a pagan author. I have my practice. I like doing my practice. I just want to give back and to grow in this community and to be of service.
I love that. I love that. I have a couple other questions. I know, Diana, do you have any questions that you're going to throw in there?
I'm just listening and seeing what occurs to me.
Okay.
So
I want to know, like, I can definitely feel the passion and feel the excitement. What particular pieces excite both of you about this, besides being able to come together with the community and just pretty much create something brand new? Like, what are your favorite pieces of it?
I think for me, just having the opportunity to learn with other folks and to share with other folks, that is the biggest thing for me. What I loved about PantheaCon, so the day that I walked into PantheaCon and like was at the registration table, ready to get my badge, a really wonderful Black witch tapped me on the shoulder and was like, "Hey, I think you should come to the Queer Trans People of Color room later. You have the vibe. This is where you belong." And I was like, yeah, I don't know anybody here. I'm literally just coming for fun to meet other people, and that's where I spent a lot of my time, and also at the Radical Fairy Suite with Nikka. So the biggest thing for me is like meeting other folks and sharing with other folks and sharing our magic and sharing our passion. One super important thing for me is I'm a ceremonial magician and a Thelemite, and we kind of get overlooked at a lot of the like pagan, Wiccan, other magical conferences. I know that Aleister Crowley gets a bad rap. I get it. I know that the Golden Dawn gets a bad rap. I know. We can talk about that, and I'm a queer man of color. Like, I get it. I know what you mean. But I want to share my practice with you. I want to
My
share
friends,
my will with you.
you are in the right place. Nikki's very demon friendly, and I did my 0=0 at the next to last PentheaCon.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
Emperor Norton is very aggressively all paths.
Yeah,
So,
I kind of bounce between demon and fae.
I work with angels, but I tell them to their faces they're dicks. So
Angels are dicks.
they are. They really are.
Quite frequently, yes. Quite
Yeah.
frequently, yes. Nikka, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that's been really fun for me is my work traditionally has been very separate from my spiritual practice in terms of I previously worked in the government, and so being pagan and out and was not always necessarily something that I could be. And so I feel like I've struggled a lot to try and figure out where I can merge my beliefs, especially my spiritual beliefs and my magical practice with, some of the things that I've learned in the Muggle world, and how I can combine those and feel like I can have like a beautiful synthesis of those two things. And so for me, it's been really fun to be involved in something that I feel like I can finally do that, and I can be kind of more wholly my full self, is a really beautiful and special experience that I don't often get to have in life. And I think probably a lot of us feel that way. So I think that's a huge component for me. And I mean, I think going to events and conventions has just been so impactful in my life. And so knowing that I get to continue to do that and be a part of that and actually get more of it, like it doesn't just have to be a one-time a year thing. I can, be in it kind of all of the time and get some of that has been pretty exciting and pretty wonderful. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I can. Oh, go ahead, Diana.
Oh, so I was looking at the program you have laid out, which looks awesome. My partner is one of the most intellectually critical thinkers I've ever met, and they were like looking at the entire thing going, I want to go to all of this, which you have no idea what a win this is until you meet my partner. But they were especially like the stuff about the You Are Not a Celtic Shaman, because they're a Finnish shamanic practitioner and they're so picky about what shaman is called. So how did you go about the selection for what was included this year? And, what's the process? How are you vetting your presenters?
That's a really great question. So we, as a board, as members of this community, and in particular, like a community of magical folks that are that are marginalized, we want to center those voices. So we want to center the voices of Black, Indigenous, people of color. We want to center the voices of queer folks, and we want to center the voices of women. That is just central to the work that we're doing. So part of our application process for being a presenter was that you had to agree to our community guidelines. There is a big fat statement about cultural appropriation in our community guidelines, and that is a value that is probably one of the most important things for me, and my approach to this community and to this work. PantheaCon was lovely and beautiful, and it was full of white faces who were talking about hoodoo and voodoo and practices that were diaspora traditions, that, you know, maybe they had some really lovely, authentic initiation experience and are authentically trying to bring some great magic to the community. And they get published and they make money off of doing that work. And the people who belong to those communities by heritage, by ancestry, are left out and forgotten and don't make money and don't get published. So we want to make sure that we're hearing from those people, from the people that are overlooked and are supporting their work with their passion and their love and magic as strongly as they can.
So, and I realize that this is also because PantheaCon was a little opaque in how they went about choosing who they chose. So we can't really know what the process was there or who was really applying for things. Have you spoken to the presenters? Have they talked to the ones that you have lined up about challenges that they have had in getting a platform and getting a voice? Are there any stories that you would be free to share?
Yeah, I mean, I can think of specifically one person that our wonderful community member, Laura, actually connected us to a wonderful woman who lives in India, one of our presenters named Charuleka. And she was describing how she has never had the opportunity to be able to present to folks outside of India, and also in a lot of ways just to be able to present her magic and to present her practice. Being in India in a patriarchal society, and a woman talking about matrilineal practice and how it's been suppressed and oppressed from that culture, and just kind of the opportunity and to be able to talk about it and to be able to talk about it freely, and to not, there was even questions about, like, some of this is my personal practice and experience. I don't have, peer-reviewed research that backs it up. And we're like, that's fine. that is okay. That is beautiful. That is wonderful. That is enough, And so that's just one example that I can give. We've had, other people just talk even about the whole process, feeling that it's been a little bit more warm maybe than they're used to. They feel heard differently when it comes to things like pronouns and names and how they would like to present themselves, publicly, and how we do that. So yeah, we have gotten some really solid feedback around those experiences. So.
One of my personal favorite presenters is Luna Pantera. She's our Friday evening keynote. If you've been to PantheaCon, or if you've ever been like, oh, I want to learn about my ancestry from a radical Black witch, you have met or seen Luna Pantera. She is absolutely fantastic. In conversations with her, about PantheaCon and about the community, she has struggled a lot with just the overwhelming whiteness of this community, of the magical community. And her work is not like, I only work with people of color, I only work with Black folks. She works with everyone. Everyone has the opportunity to work with their ancestors. And she is, if not overlooked, she is violated. Her magical practice is violated in many ways, because she is a Black woman and because PantheaCon does not support Black women or people of color.
So it's good that there is a new opportunity and a new framing for that.
Yeah, and we also, just to add to that too, we're putting in also some different safety nets for presenters, of all presenters, in terms of making sure that they have the emotional support during and after workshops, the logistics support. It is exhausting, as we all know, to be a presenter at these sorts of things, especially if we're talking about things that are extremely personal, or maybe make us vulnerable in different ways. And so, it's not even just giving somebody the room. Our hope and our goal is to give them the full support to be able to show up the way that they want to and need to, and also know that they're safe. And ensuring that we do that for folks that we're inviting, into space.
I know from doing presentations here and there that, the before and after care, that makes a big difference. That can.
Yeah, exactly. And as you know, not everybody has maybe all of their supports with them. And so we want to make sure as an organization that we're ensuring that also the presenters are being taken care of if they don't have somebody there with them to provide some of that care.
Just on that topic still, when I as the board president, the way that I like to try to keep us organized and on topic is, and when thinking about how we're doing this work, to think about it as a magical practice. So like the board is a coven, and when we are trying to make decisions, that is a magical practice, that's spell casting going on. So in the same way, our presenters are giving us magic, whether they are just leading a workshop or even practicing some ritual in a workshop space. That is a magical practice, and magical practices, as everybody knows, require some aftercare, whether that's food, a hug, just taking a nap. We need to make sure that we're taking care of each other.
Yeah, Nikki has seen me turn into a biter if I'm not given enough space after. So yeah, we know this.
Okay, but you're a biter before too.
That's fair. That's practically how I make friends. But
I like that this is a really holistic view. It's not just, hey, come in, give your spiel, and okay, we'll see you at the after party. It's very much like, it is like being wrapped in a warm blanket.
Most of the people on the board are anti-capitalist. Just gonna say that.
I had other questions written down, but you've kind of answered them through the broadcast.
I'm a teacher, so I talk a lot.
Oh, we like that. We like that.
It's a good trait to have in situations like this. Yes.
Are there any specific needs or roles that you're trying to fill right now that you'd like to kind of put out there on the broadcast? If anyone's watching that could possibly fill them for you.
Yeah, I think. Oh, go for it, Jonathan.
No, Nikka, you go ahead. You go ahead. Okay, so for our May conference, we are looking for people who want to give us some of their reading practices. So if you were a reader and you want a space where you can set up a room, we have this great web platform that we are using. It is to keep the server running. We're asking for a $20 donation to the board, but you get your own room online. There is a platform that it's like a video game. Like you can gather on GatherTown. You can walk into somebody's room, and a reader can give you a reading, and you can charge however much you want to charge to give your reading. That is all you. But if you're a reader, anything, tarot, astrology, runes, stones, geomancy, you want to do some phrenology somehow online. I don't know how that would. Yeah, I know. People are coming up with creative ways to do things on the internet right now.
Honestly, we've had to, absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Okay, now I'm figuring out how you could actually do it, because this is my brain.
If you are an online augur, please contact us. We want your reading skills at our May conference. We want to give you the space to do that.
So what is the best way to contact you?
Great question. Between let me make sure that I'm getting the email address right. Nikka, do you know off the top of your head our email address?
Yeah, it's betweenthefailscon@gmail.com.
Okay, let me add that in there so people can see it.
Thank you. I should have thought about that. You could also find us on Facebook, Between the Veils Community and Between the Veils Con.
Okay, is the community a group or a page?
The community is a group, and the Between the Veils Con is a page. So we have both, and we check all the time. We also have an Instagram that's Between the Veils Con, as well as a Twitter. So you can DM us through any of those, or send us an email, and we will get back to you. For those of you who really enjoy Discord, we also have a Discord if you want to get involved in that community. So yeah, trying to make ourselves as accessible as possible to lots of different folks.
I'm trying to make sure I spell it all right as I put it in here. BetweenTheVeilsCon@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Low lighting here. I'm trying to do it on my laptop.
So in 2022, are you hoping to be able to do this in live space?
Yes.
That is the goal.
So that was the next thing that I was going to say in terms of people, is we are already looking towards doing the normal President's Day weekend in February 2022 in live space, most likely in the Bay Area. We can't say for sure yet because we're still in hotel contract negotiations, but I think most folks will probably feel pretty comfortable in the space. Yeah, so that is our plan, and so we are definitely already starting to look to people that are interested in supporting the in-person con. So if you're somebody who's very passionate, for instance, about programming, if you're somebody who's really passionate about on-site volunteering and being there day of and production, if you're somebody who's really passionate about social media, perhaps. Pretty much if you have an interest, we'll probably have a way to be able to tap into that. Something to add is we do hope to not only pay presenters, but also eventually have both volunteer and paid staff. So not all volunteer run. And then also benefits for volunteers, like getting to come into the con for free, getting some access to some other things maybe a little bit early on to make sure that, we're also showing gratitude to you for all of that work. So yes, definitely. I know that's not very specific, but as folks who have been involved in large event planning know, it honestly does take a village, and we can use everybody with any skill set. We're open.
And you will offer cookies, right? Because that really helps get people in the door.
100%. We'll offer cookies. I can't guarantee that we'll have like the entire assortment of cookies from like gluten-free, vegan, sugar-free, but we will try to have as much available to folks as we possibly can in our budget.
I just know from organizing Twin Cities Pagan Pride many years ago that cleavage and cookies goes a very long way, as does periodic installments of pizza of various types. It really helps.
You're talking to the person who did pink parties with the Radical Fairy Suite. So
you know this inside now. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm like,
doesn't even matter what cleavage. Just...
Something else to also plug, sorry, really quickly about the upcoming event is also for those of you who miss having PCon parties maybe and socializing. Even for our virtual event, we will be having some after parties and potentially some ones that people might be missing. So they might be green and fairy-like.
So you mentioned the Death Cafe. Can you explain what that is for people outside the area?
Yeah. So the Death Cafe in this context will most likely be facilitated by one of our board members. Tanuki the Wise is what they go by. And it will be a time to be able to talk about and discuss issues and feelings around death and mortality. Usually the in-person one at PCon, there's tea that gets served to everybody, and it's a very cozy, lovely space. We can't serve you tea, but we do recommend brewing some for yourselves at home and sharing along with that. So
And to plug, Golden Apple does offer some really excellent teas that are good for stress reduction.
There you go. Partnership.
I'm usually the one that throws the plug in. You get a gold star for that, Diane.
Finally, I almost behaved myself. Okay.
Is Golden
anything
Apple
else?
one of our vendor partners for Between the Veils?
It is not yet because we are still in the startup, and that involves us getting way more organized than we are, especially me.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm mock organized.
You are more organized than I am right now, by far.
We are also taking some vendors. If anybody wants to sling their wares at the Between the Veils online conference, we're going to have, just like with the reader room, we're going to have a vendor room as well. And it's a tiered system, and so you can offer like a large room with a lot of different wares, or smaller rooms, depending on what you'd like to offer. Teas are always welcome. I'm a big tea drinker. Don't drink coffee, but I do drink a tea.
I have a question for you all. The Golden Apple, are some of you Discordians or just fans of Golden Apples?
Well, this actually started, so the Golden Apple was something that, because when Nikki and I first started talking about starting a shop together, way back when I lived in Minnesota, I had started talking, so I had a working partner who was Discordian, yes, and we had talked about doing the Golden Apple, but his shit was not together enough ever to really start a business, and it was just an idea I carried with me. But also, I'm Polish American. I am a Slavic pagan, and Perun was a lesser known keeper of the Golden Apple. And in that mythos, he was also the inventor of the first grenade, which was a golden apple.
Interesting. I did not know that story. Thank you for educating me.
Yeah, so for me, it just kind of carries over with a slightly wicked sense of humor. But the Golden Apple shows up in a lot of places in mythology, not just in Slavic, not just the Eris story. There were stories about, I cannot remember the specific one in the Greek stories, about the woman that didn't want to get married until her competitor threw an apple behind him, so she'd stop and pick up the apple. I mean,
I feel like we were just talking about this like 2 weeks ago.
I think it's been more than 2 weeks, but I did talk about it in the show when I actually remembered everybody's name. But
sorry,
rehashing.
It was just a curiosity.
Yeah,
I'm familiar with the Aphrodite gifting Paris the golden apples for, and that's how he won Helen. Such a problem, God.
I want to know what the hell was in those apples that women kept falling for it.
Seriously.
So, like with me, medieval weaponry, fantastic, but other people, no. So Atlanta, okay, and the apples of the Hesperides. Thank you. I again, I had COVID back in November, and my brain is not quite as good as it used to be, but it's coming back. The vaccinations have helped, but getting my brain to get back to the reference section is taking a little work. So thank you for the reminders.
All I can say is I have 3 biological children, and my brain went away and never came back. I will remember a face from 30 years ago, but names.
With my kids, I have no bio kids, and I'm still lucky if I can remember their names in a given day. But I have had to yell things like "stop standing on each other's faces." So
yeah,
that's real. That's super real.
Yeah. I had to explain that to their oldest brother. That was fun.
I'm so excited that you guys came in tonight. I'm really looking forward to this con, and I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to when we can all be at a con together.
You're looking forward to running around and hugging people all day.
I have a pin for my job that says, "Feel free to hug me." I'm fully vaccinated, and I'm a casual toucher. Back in the day at PantheaCon, I always had the sticker that said, "Hugs are like oxygen."
Yeah. And I'm an empath, and I do empath trainings, but I wear the no touchy, and I will occasionally add a sticker that says biter.
Oh.
We're the opposite ends of the spectrum on that.
I'm definitely a big hugger. I love a hug, and I got my second dose last Wednesday, so a week ago. So I got one more week, and I am just ready to start hugging people.
Me too. I got my dose last Wednesday too. How's Pfizer?
Congratulations. I am Moderna all the way. I am become Dolly.
There we go.
House Moderna. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we got 2 Pfizers and 2 Modernas. I feel like it's
we're balanced.
It's equally balanced. Yeah.
Of course, I will say that I felt great the day I got the Moderna. About 5:30 the next morning, it made me its bitch.
Yeah, it does. I've heard that it sneaks up with Pfizer. According to my doctor, because I had COVID, it was going to hit me harder because apparently my body had lopsided proteins that needed correcting. So, like me and my partner, it knocked us both on our asses. It was just nothing was happening that day. So okay, and so to Tritissima, it's got. So Tritissima, I'm going to assume from the A ending, it's she, her. So she got her second Pfizer today. Congratulations. And Sophia is demanding that Jonathan hug that person.
Sophia is a co-founder of Pantheacon, of Between the Veils.
Mm-hmm.
I am needing a hug, and I want to hug them so badly.
Also, if the person that you were saying that ends with an A is the person I think they are genderqueer.
Okay, so they them. Okay, just let me know. So sometimes when it's text, you have to take a stab. So.
Also, another plug about Sophia. Sophia and I wrote our community guidelines together, which I'm very proud of. I think that they're really important. They are one thing that sets us apart from Pantheacon. They very clearly lay out that we do not suffer cultural appropriation, racism, ableism. Now I'm like trying to think of them off the top of my head.
Classism.
We're all about consent in our community. We love consent. We love asking. That includes being a part of and participating in ritual spaces. Consenting to show up to a ritual space is one thing. It's another thing to like force somebody to like dance around naked. That's not okay with us. We want everybody to want to participate and give the amount that they want to participate.
I
and we ask
that more than you know.
That is another thing that I heard at Pantheacon a lot was people were like, oh, this ritual sounds great. I want to go to it. And then they show up and they're like, somebody like grabs them and is like, you have to stand up and dance with us. And it's like, no, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to take my clothes off. I can be just as spiritual and magical with my clothes on.
I'll be happy to dance naked, but that's something you will suffer. Just don't touch me while I do it.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm staying clothed.
I figure if somebody wants me naked, that's the consequence they get to suffer.
I'm a ceremonialist. We're all about robes.
Right?
I have had I've set fire to too many things to do robes. That's why I wear overalls. More pockets, better places to put the fire extinguishers.
Oh, smart. I have not thought about ritual overalls.
Makes much more sense for me. And I am a walking fire hazard. Nikki can attest to this. So
you just can't help yourself. You attract the flame.
We've set the kitchen on fire very many times. And
my garage, my porch, one time, that was you.
Okay, maybe the porch was me. The garage wasn't me, though.
It was kind of a team effort. That was a team effort. You wanted to take that credit for the garage for a long time. But
luckily Between the Veils hasn't been together very much in like physical proximity yet to burn each other or burn things down.
Burn each
We're
other
getting
down.
there. To burn each other down. We're getting there.
You can do human sacrifice, but it must be by mutual consent.
Exactly.
There we go. And also make sure you have carpet cleaners lined up for when you're done. That shit gets all over the carpet.
So real.
Remember, we have a if you're interested in participating form, so feel free.
Do you really have a question that says, would you like to be the sacrifice? Because I think that would be hilarious.
You know, we don't, but that's like a pretty good idea that I would be down to add. Although it might freak some people, some of the newbies out. So, you know.
So keep that in mind for the years when you're starting to get overcrowded. So you have some self-select out.
I mean, God's willing, we get there, but we'll see.
All right, and JL Martinez is saying, I get to hold the hose. So this is a friend of ours that is a firefighter, so she gets to.
And she does. She has. She is very vigilant. And what was that the night that was that the broom
that was the night we did the solstice broom? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we burned a broom for solstice.
And I kept blowing it back into fire. Yeah, it was great. It
and
was
weird. Probably got us to knock it off by hosing us down. Yeah.
Yeah. Our weird shitometer is the bar is really high.
Being a Californian, I am incredibly, incredibly wary of fire in any context, unless it's like, I know that none of this is flammable. I go to a Unitarian Universalist church camp in Southern California called the Benneville Pines. Twice in about like 3 years, our camp almost burned down. One of them actually started on the boundary of our camp at like next to the water tower. Luckily, it moved in the opposite direction of the camp itself. The last year, with the I don't know if anybody knows about the what was that thing? The gender reveal party.
Oh yeah,
fire that happened. That almost burned down our camp again. There were some like embers that sort of flew onto some cabins. Luckily, it was saved again. But I am very wary of fire now and starting fires in places.
Yeah,
I mean, we joke around, but yeah, absolutely. The camp that my family goes to every year actually did get burned down in last year's fires. So Camp Okaizu is currently still in the cleaning debris stage, and soon we'll be back hopefully into the rebuilding stage.
That being said, I'm also a klutz, and I use fire all the time, which is why I'm trying to be as fire safe as possible, because I'll know that I'll burn a thing down.
Okay, what are we saying here? Fire is how the manzanita has babies. We need it in California. We just made it impossible to do it in a good way.
Yeah, not wrong. There's also a problem with Salvia mellifera, which is black sage, and it only grows in Southern California and part of Mexico, which I just did a show on this for a local shop that I do shows for on smoke cleansing and getting people to understand the differences between the herbs and why they're not all interchangeable. And Salvia mellifera benefits from the ash from the wildfires that happen naturally every year, but there's been so many that the same wildfires and the same fires are starting to cause the plant to go extinct, in addition to the overharvesting from people going, oh, this is sage, I'm going to help myself. So it's a big mess. My house done burned. You win, Lauren. Yes, you win. You beat the fire. If you were standing in the center laughing maniacally, that would so be you.
Well, no, Lauren didn't burn it down. It just burned.
Okay.
Her apartment building. This was about, maybe 6 years ago, just before I started at Martuni's. So Lauren, who's commenting here, is my coworker from the bar. And she also oftentimes is my co-host here on the show on nights when Diana can't do it. And the two of us are kind of, a lot of times it goes off the rails and it becomes a train wreck, a funny train wreck.
It's a great train wreck to watch.
I don't know if you watched last week, Diana.
I haven't yet, no.
You're going to cringe because some of our bar people joined in and we were talking about paranormal things and ghost stories and lore that we kind of grew up with as kids. And it's some of the boys went a little far afield. They were talking about ghosts of penises past. Yeah.
Well, if you ever watch our first episode, Nikki had some propositions for operating a Ouija board that were pretty entertaining.
Oh my gosh! Well, I have to.
It would be very good for one of those late night parties at the Fairy Suite that y'all used to have. So,
I mean, they'll be back. So
Yeah.
Bring out the Ouija boards, my friends.
And the methods for operating, since someone was insisting it had to be a man and a woman to operate a Ouija board.
Yeah, and I think my question was, does your penis move the planchette? I mean, is there like, what are we moving the planchette with? I mean, I don't understand why it has to be 1 and 1.
We lost about 12 viewers in that moment, but
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Oh yeah, it was a night.
Yeah. Well, they were insisting that there's just something. It was an initiation of hermetics, or no, it was magical evocation. It was something by Franz Barden. So I went and found the book, and no. As old-fashioned as Barden could be, I don't think that spirit boards were even part of that.
I really don't think that Hermes Trismegistus did not have any interest in Ouija boards. Let's just put it that way. Hermeticism doesn't care about Ouija boards.
They were like a Civil War invention, or it was either Civil War or World War I invention. It's like a 20th century thing anyway.
Mitch Horowitz wrote a book, The Secret Occult America, Secret History of the Occult in the United States or something. He has a whole chapter about Ouija boards, and I swear to God, it's the most boring chapter in the entire book. It's really interesting and informative, and it's like, I'm not a Ouija board person personally, so I'm like, oh God, this is so boring. He's going into like how planchettes were developed and who now owns the patent and all of the hands that the patent went through, and I'm like, who the fuck cares?
Wow, I thought I had no filter when I did research.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that my kids aren't touching it, which they're very good about. They know that there are certain, like I have an armoire that a lot of my supplies are in, and I'm like, we know we don't go into that. That's mom's stuff.
I mean, for me, the spirit board is usually a formality because the way I work with spirits is pretty much face to face, and I have to wear a biter's sign with them too. So.
And Diana refuses to go ghost hunting with me.
I would spoil it for you. I would spoil the fun for you because you'd be looking over going, here's the story. And I'm like, it's there. He's right there staring at you.
The only reason I don't see them is because I don't want to.
I would totally go ghost hunting with you. I've never seen a ghost also, but I totally am into ghosts. I have just never experienced one myself.
Well, we're definitely getting a little group together, and one of our people from the group, my friend Christine, if you look back at our video, she makes resin items for the shop. She's one of our artists, and she's been sending me things in San Francisco, or not in San Francisco, in California. She's like, we should go here, we should go there, we should go here. I'm like, okay.
Oh yeah, and I know that Jennifer had a list for us of haunted places that she wanted to check out at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot around here. There's a lot in the Bay, and like where I'm living in Kalamazoo is very, very haunted. But it's also because I think that there's a track record of psychotic breaks about every 3 or 4 years that get especially violent. So, but that does make for interesting ghost hunting.
Sounds like it.
Definitely.
Yeah, and Jennifer's saying, I feel them more than I see them. And I do feel them more than I see them, to the point where in my early career, I owe a lot of apologies for feeling things up. A lot. Because I didn't know what things were. Consent and spirits, it still matters.
Absolutely.
I just want the odd occurrence. Yeah,
so now that I've made it weird.
You've just made it more fun and interesting.
I could talk for a long time about having a conversation about consent and spiritual practice, and consent, not only physically consenting to being present to, but consenting to feeling the divine and being with the divine, and consenting to being in whatever practice you want to be in.
Yeah. And I think that is an important thing, especially since in my early days, this was something that I would run into, is there were different traditions of witchcraft that wanted to do initiations, but didn't want to tell you what vows you were taking before the initiation. Yeah. Or the one that wanted poverty vows. Guess what I'm not doing? Because yeah, I do like my privilege, and this is how I can use it to give other people a leg up. And, this is just, for me, it was the realities of things I didn't want to agree to. And knowing ahead would make a big difference in that. Yeah, the gods and ghosts get to give consent to, yes. And my partner, Cinti, they're going, we only really had one that made national news. There's an unfortunate incident with an Uber driver that decided to pick up fares while going on a shooting spree. And that was what happened in the city I'm in now. That was a few years ago.
Wow.
And then let's see how many. Okay, from Jennifer.
Jennifer, how many days will BTV go when it's in person?
BTV will go for the same amount of time as PentheaCon, so Friday to Monday morning, Monday afternoon.
Okay,
yes, and then hopefully, definitely also listening to folks about what they want in terms of programming and vending rooms and timing as well. So there's also still, just for folks that are wondering, there's still many discussions that we have ideas about, but want to also bring to the larger community to kind of get feedback on what they would like to see and have.
Okay, something that occurred to me because of some training from some individuals that are from minority communities was that some of these traditions, and I know part of this is this underrepresentation of publishing, and I'm not in any way defending publishing because there's definitely active decisions there that marginalize people. But one of the challenges is some of these traditions, these magical traditions that people want to teach, are strictly oral tradition.
Mm-hmm.
So are you doing any kind of specific outreach for those that are teaching oral traditions, or do you have a way of finding the people that do adhere by that?
Nikka, you want to take this one?
You can take it, Jonathan. I saw you.
Actually, that's a really interesting question, though. We have been speaking with and doing some outreach with Indigenous communities in particular. A lot of Indigenous folks practice oral traditions. We haven't actually set up any particular guidelines for how we're going to search for people and what kind of traditions. We are super open as well. If you are somebody watching this and you have a tradition that you would like to share with us, particularly one that is an oral tradition, particularly one that is likely to die soon, it's not really, I would say it's not really possible to teach an entire oral tradition over a 4-day weekend, especially if you only have like a 1 or 2 workshop slots. But this would be a great place to network with people, to find some students, to find people that you want to share your story with. That's what we're interested in, is sharing story and sharing and giving people the chance to be heard and to open some doors for people to learn.
And if you are those people, we do have the email address on the screen there. So feel free to shoot a message through to the con. I lost my it happens. I lost my train of thought.
That was a great statement. Please send us emails if you have ideas. And many of the people that are involved, including myself, Laura, like I said, who supports programming, we and a few others are people that come from cultures and practices that are primarily taught through oral tradition, and so I think we're kind of lucky in that I think have a community of folks that we know who then know folks who then know folks, which I think is a big way, especially for those types of traditions, that this gets out. However, we are also going to be doing kind of more targeted advertising and targeted online outreach at this point as much as we can to make sure that we're broadening it. Also, especially want to add to folks that are also not just in California, and this applies to, anybody anywhere with any kind of tradition. Some of the feedback that we've received is that previously cons in this area are very California focused and West Coast focused and heavy. That is not our intention. We're doing it here because a lot of us happen to be from here. Our goal is hopefully we grow enough at some point to be able to have satellite events that are not just in California and that are throughout the country and maybe even potentially globally. So don't want anybody to feel any of the East Coast, West Coast dynamics of old and are ready to kind of step into to the new space.
I like that. I think that's exciting.
I do too. And I know I've been around long enough to see some of the East Coast, Midwest, East, West, and Midwest. And there's each community is distinct. There is not a monolithic pagan community any more than there's a monolithic indigenous community. And I think that working to cultivate that awareness will make a big difference in long-term growth. Just my opinion.
Definitely. No, I completely agree. And so, yeah, definitely want to also open up conversations to folks to be able to feel safe about talking about some of those differences and how other people can feel comfortable. Also looking at things like age and, you know, making sure that the 18-year-old that's coming in has some of the knowledge and wisdom from folks that have been in the community for 50 years and vice versa, and that we kind of just create a whole bunch of avenues for people to connect and discuss and learn from each other and with each other. So
I think that's the part I'm really looking forward to, because I think I've already said it on here. I don't have a particular path or tradition. I'm not great at ritual. Pretty much I talk to them. If they want to work with me, we figure it out. If they don't, I'm okay with that. But it has been throughout the years, I've been very much discounted, and my experiences are not necessarily heard because I'm not a part of a path or a tradition. It's amazing how many, gosh, I don't want to say things, entities, whatever you want to call them, find me interesting. I don't know if that's good or bad. I think it just depends on what I'm dealing with, but people, not so much.
Yeah, I have been around for some behaviors that I haven't cared for. And I've noticed that since I've published a few books, suddenly people are so much more interested in listening to me than they were, especially since I'm somebody who actually chose to step away from traditions that I was initiated in. And people can't wrap their heads around, well, this was me being true to my path too. So there's a lot of very set ideas that need to be broken down and are breaking down. It's just getting a little ugly on the way down.
Yeah, because I've definitely met people that have told us, that have come to our Emperor Norton group and said, you know what, I'm new to this. I don't know a darn thing. And then through the course of a conversation, they will say something so profound that your mind is blown. And you're like, but you just said that you don't know anything. And this just came out of your mouth like that. No one thinks like that. It's amazing. And I think that that's the great thing about this, is that we all think so differently. And we're connected in different ways, but having that inclusion and bringing those people together is just going to make all of our practices stronger.
Yeah,
that's absolutely that's absolutely what I believe. That's why I wanted to get involved in the wider magical community. I love my order. I love the work that I do. And I want to share it with other people, and I wanted to learn from other people and with other people. I've just in the couple of years that I've been involved in, when I was going to PantheaCon and now with Between the Veils, I've really grown in my spiritual practice and my what could be called ministry as a magical practitioner. And I think it's for the better for all of us that we are learning from one another and sharing with one another and comparing notes. Why does this ritual work for you in this way and not for me in this way? I think it really strengthens our practices.
And it can come down to the weirdest stuff like blood type. I mean, you never know. So yeah. Okay, so is there anything else that you really want people to know about Between the Veils, about yourselves, about what you're trying to build?
I think we really covered a lot of it. Nikka and I are also, we're starting a podcast. It's pretty cool. It's pretty much like our voices that you are watching and hearing now, and talking about our own practices and what we do and why we think it's fun. And also decolonizing the magical community and the pagan community, making sure that our practices are accessible to everyone, regardless of gender, body, abilities, sexual orientation, color, all of those great things. We just want to have fun. We just are having conversations that make us feel good.
That sounds about right. That sounds familiar, Nikki.
Yeah. Are those our 3 a.m. conversations? Yeah.
The 4 a.m. ones get really weird. So
this is from Lauren. She says, let me pull this up. The beauty of magic is the organic growth that it springs from. This shit wasn't handed down from one god. It came about from nature and instincts. Everything is fluid.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, that sounds a little bit like my animistic household. A little bit.
So we have 12 viewers on right now. So does anybody have any questions for Nikka or Jonathan? Or any questions about between the veils?
Bueller.
Well, you got to give people a second to type, because if they type like me, it's going to take a minute. So when we're talking about programming, while people are coming up with questions, Cindy says you should check out Emperor Norton. I think you'd really enjoy the community. Emperor Norton is our group that Diana started in San Francisco, and we're kind of like, anybody's welcome. Our real thing is Diana has a much nicer way to say it. My thing is, don't be an ass.
Mine is be excellent to each other. If we practiced a religion, it would be the one with Bill and Ted in it.
Nice.
Bill and Ted's kick-ass daughters now. So if you saw the update,
really it's a community of magical people that are from different paths and traditions, and our whole thing is, come prepared to learn, come prepared to teach. Listen and be heard. We want to learn about each other, and we welcome people that don't all follow the same path. Because one thing I didn't like, because I've been a solitary almost the entire time I've done this, and I've tried to work, like I did some reclaiming events. I've spoken to people with covens, and it just didn't. It didn't fit for me. It was that itchy sweater. You put on a sweater that looks great, and all of a sudden you realize you're allergic to the material. And for me, sometimes working with groups feels very much like that. But I was going to ask a question about programming. So one of the things that I found dissatisfaction with, as much as I loved being at PentheaCon, I felt like it was very new practitioner heavy in the programming. And I personally wanted things that were a little bit more for those of us that have been in the community practicing for longer. How is programming going to find that balance?
Yeah, so I think that's really great input and insight that we will definitely be thinking about. I think our plan is to have, and this might change. So this is, saying things with plans that we've come up with so far and ideas we've come up with so far, and also realizing that this is a process that we hope grows, shifts, and changes, especially as more voices get involved. However, our plan is to have a little bit more of kind of the track, mindset. So making sure, for instance, that not all of the kind of more advanced programming is at the exact same time, right? So at each slot, we might have something that's maybe a little bit more for the advanced practitioner or somebody who's been in the community for longer. Every slot might have something that's a little bit beginner friendly. Every slot might have something that's going to be POC oriented or queer oriented or trans oriented, so that folks don't feel like, all of the things that I'm really coming for are happening at the exact same time. And I have to decide between all 4 of them because they're all aligned and they're all the things that I want to do. Obviously, we can't like help that. I'm sure people will want to do many things at the same time that are on many different tracks. But we are kind of hoping to think of it a little bit more in that way. So in every slot, hopefully the people that we're targeting feel like there's something that they're going to be interested, invested in, or feel safe participating in.
I think that's a really interesting thing you brought up, though, that, you know, as a community, we're growing and we want to grow. We want everyone to grow together. So we want to make space for new folks who are coming in, who are like just learning about hoodoo for their first time, or are just learning about how to practice ceremonial magic, which is a big step. Ceremonial magic is a lot.
It's a lot of steps, including tripping.
Yes, a lot of tripping in many ways. So we want to, we definitely want to make sure that there is some space for new folks and some space to grow and stretch in our practices as a community and to stretch as a community. I do a lot of community building stuff, and in the 5 steps is stretching is the 4th step. And then deeper sharing after that. So that is a way that we are going to grow and build our own practices and our community together.
Okay, and it looks like a couple of questions came in.
Ooh. Let's see. This is from Cinti. I do want to say, though, I'm not averse to the beginner classes because sometimes I am the beginner in certain tracks, you know, and I do appreciate those. It's when it's very
Nothing
heavy.
but.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it's like almost like, you know, there's one day where there's like 25 programs and 23 of them are beginner heavy. And one of them is a specific tradition that I have no interest in. And then one is like something about gardening. And I'm an avid gardener, so that, but like if those are the options.
Yeah, and especially those like 9 a.m. I felt like that was it. A lot of the time, the like 9 a.m. slots were always like,
I don't
here's
know
another food magic, or like,
just run until 2 and let us get up at 11 like civilized pagans. Oh my God. What is wrong with you people?
Yeah.
Like, can we just only have the children programming and like the yoga in the morning and like just be happy, and then that's
just be glad I showed up sober for this class and I was teaching it.
Exactly.
Like, this is the week that I don't have to get up early. Yeah.
So I see this question that's up from Cinti, and it says, what about recording the presentations and offering access to those who attend, whether in person or online? That is a wonderful question that we're trying to figure out primarily from the perspective of ensuring that we can maintain the privacy of folks that are attending in particular. So, you know, as we know, not everybody is out of the broom closet. And so we just, you know, want to ensure that if we are doing recordings and offering recordings, that people's privacy kind of isn't being leaked into the world. However, we also want to make sure that it is accessible to folks long term. And one of the things that we've, you know, our goals for the long run is to actually be able to provide an online space where people can access workshops online and video workshops and recordings so that they can, you know, go back to something that they've seen, hear it again, that sort of thing. So it's an idea that we're still playing around with.
Okay. And we have another question. Will there be devotional spaces available this year online? Temples or shrines or the like, as was beginning to bloom when PCON ended?
Oh, so yeah, I went to a really beautiful, I think it was a white Tara puja. So there was some stuff like that, something like that. I have a relationship with white Tara from years back and a lineage tradition from way back when, but I know that there was also the Hellenic group had their temple. There was House of Koru. Or Koro Kathoda had this fantastic Celtic temple. So
yeah. So we at this point don't have any of those things available. this year online. We were playing with the idea of allowing people to have hospitality suites online and potentially in the Discord. However, just with timing and making sure that we kind of get the components that we have so far down right, that was unfortunately something that we weren't able to do necessarily as a part of this con, but that's not to say that it's something that we might not have as a part of those monthly offerings. And for instance, in our Discord moving forward.
So work in progress, but
yeah, there are so many things we want to be able to offer, and so many like beautiful practices that people want to bring to us. And it's hard, you know, as a new organization as well, when we are trying to be as inclusive as possible and incorporating a lot of different practices.
I know the two things that I would have really appreciated, because I know they had the morning yoga a lot, and my first year I wasn't able to get a hotel room. So I had a hotel way the heck off somewhere, and the suites were always crowded. And I noticed that in the DoubleTree, there was that section of tables that almost never got used in that far section in the park, close to the parking lot. I want to say it was like on the other side of the San Jose rooms. And I always wondered why nobody cleared that out and either put stuff down for a nap break or a stretch break.
Oh, that's a good idea. I don't know why they didn't do that either.
I will effing nap anywhere given the opportunity. So, like, putting that out would have been fantastic.
Yeah, or keeping one of like the hospitality suite rooms open for just napping and quiet time.
Yeah, nap space.
Huh. Something to think about. Thank you for the suggestion.
We're always open to suggestions.
Okay, and it looks like there's another one from Cinti, because apparently they're watching today. Hi, honey. Oh, of course, privacy requires consent. I love how well thought out the event is showing itself to be. Well done, truly.
Oh,
thank you. We really appreciate it.
If you knew what a critical thinker they are, that is saying one hell of a lot. They, seriously.
That is so appreciated. We've been putting a lot of time, energy, and our love and our magic into this conference, and it's, as we said earlier, I feel like Sisyphus. It's just rolling that boulder up the hill, trying to get this to happen, and it's like, is it ever going to end? And we're getting there. It's so close, and we're so proud of the work that we've been doing.
And, you know, Sisyphus ended up pretty buff. You will end up that way, too.
I don't know why I'm doing that. I would never do that.
All right. Yeah, and I
forgot that my mic was muted. Ongoing devotional space is available for the individual interaction every time, like the Koru or
the Antinous Temple.
Yeah.
So that was the Hellenic people.
Mm-hmm. And I get online. It's very it's challenging to have those spaces together.
Yeah. You almost would have to do it through sound.
Yeah, and again, I think we were, one of the things, you know, when it came down to it, that we were concerned about was putting a little bit more focus and energy into ensuring that we could provide a space like a vendor room and a reading room for folks that normally depended on PCon or in-person cons to kind of make a living. So not to say that those temples and spaces of worship aren't essential to community, they are. But we ended up putting a little bit more of our time and energy to ensure that people, again, that financially normally depended on PCon could still have a space to sell their wares and have that.
I just got a... Oh, sorry. Can I just say real quick? I just got a message from our treasurer, Nameless, who is creating our Gather Town space, which is where we're going to be doing those like after parties, where the vendors are going to be and where the readers are going to be. We can create a devotional space. So if you are involved in an organization that wants to hold a devotional space, we can accommodate you. We can do that for you, but we have to be in conversation about that. So let us know.
Okay. Do you have a link for that? Can you drop it in the comments?
Email us and we can start that conversation. Or
Beautiful.
talk to us on our Facebook group, our Facebook page.
Yeah. So we're seeing something from Sophia. Have you mentioned our amazing new merch on Etsy, Shelterin? So Shelterin is the name of the shop. So I know from when I used to do the Etsy things, like shelterin.etsy.com, I'm assuming, unless they've changed things, because it's been a while since I've been on there. So
Sophia would know because Sophia set up our Etsy shop. Sophia is overseeing our is doing a great job with running a lot of our merch, and I really appreciate them. Thank you, Sophia. Shout out to you for all of your amazing work. And they also make some beautiful handmade runes, which I have always wanted and never got around to. I was really hoping when we had our board Christmas gift exchange that somebody would get some for me. But their runes are beautiful. They can do them with horns. They could do them with Nikka, what are the ones that you have? The bogwood runes.
Interesting. That does sound amazing.
Okay, so it's what are we saying over here? Shelterin is the emoji. That's an emoji that
okay, I'm old.
That's what the Shelterin is supposed to be. If you can put the name of the
is there a way that I can
then I can pop that on the screen.
I just put the link in the chat.
Okay. Wonderful.
I am really bad at technology. I was teaching social media and the internet and sexuality to like a bunch of high schoolers today online, and I was like, I don't know what some of these things are. Like I'm just learning how TikTok even works.
Oh,
I'm right there.
Yeah, I have one of my partners will send me things from TikTok, and at this point I just have them go looking for me because I don't even know how to wade through that. Like Instagram hashtags, that I understand. I speak Instagram. TikTok is a much narrower frame of attention, and I'm the person who used to read like 800-page books for fun, nonfiction books. Yeah, so it's just too much of a mindset switch for me some days.
My 23-year-old daughter is teaching me TikTok.
That's appropriate.
But she does really great videos for it. So I'm like, hey.
I know there was one metaphysical shop that was doing a metaphysical shop comedy. And that was pretty entertaining, especially the one that had somebody doing metaphysical dad jokes. That was pretty fun.
That's cool.
That was cute.
One of our presenters for Between the Veils and who used to also present at PantheaCon, Marcus Fisher has a great TikTok channel and does a lot of like really fun TikTok videos, especially about his practices, and they're really funny and they're super gay, and it's his birthday today.
Aw,
happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Marcus! I've been to a couple of classes that Marcus has taught. That's always been very enjoyable.
Awesome.
Okay, so I think I'm about to turn into a pumpkin, and not in the fun way.
I can always tell when she's starting to fade.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for coming in. I've been so excited about this conversation. When Diana messaged me, I was like, yes.
We're so happy to be here. I'm so glad that you gave us the space and a whole 90 minutes to just talk about what we do and what we love. And I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And well, ask us back. We'll come back anytime. I'll remember to bring snacks.
Great.
Definitely bring snacks and beverages.
Beverages. Yeah, I always have a beverage here, but tonight it was sadly just Red Bull. I was being very good. But yeah, when you get your podcast together, come back on and plug that.
Yeah, please do.
Maybe we'll have you back on after the con, and we can see. We can get a recap of that. I think that would be great.
Yes, we would love that.
Okay, let's see. So I have betweentheveils.org. I'm going to throw up some banners really quick before people leave. This is the link for your Patreon. Go on there. And we were talking earlier about how ticketing is on a sliding scale. And, if you are having financial hardship, that does not mean that you can't attend the conference. They will definitely find ways to get you in there. If you are not, though, and you can afford to pay the higher prices for the tickets, please do so and donate a little bit more, help out our brothers and sisters. And I'm not sure what the term for non-binary would be.
Sibling.
Sibling. There we go. Thank you very much. Help our people out here. Let's get it together, because that's how we create a community. It takes a village. I grew up like that with my family, even though, they were Catholic. We won't mention that. 7-year-old exorcisms. We're not saying anything about that, but
communion wafers are like styrofoam. It's
community places. If you have questions, if you have comments, if you have ways that you want to help, please email the con here at betweentheveilscon@gmail.com. Jonathan, Nikka, thank you so much for being on tonight.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
All right. Oh, wait, we have one more comment before we let you go. What is this?
I like to say brethren, sistren, bothrin, othrin, and nithrin. I couldn't say that 3 times fast, but more power to you.
But I adore you and thank you. I learned a lot tonight, and this is one more thing that I've learned. I love the heck out of that. Brethren. Yes, sistren. Wait, I'm not like
I just like to say family. That's always
I
fun.
say folks, family. Hey, yous. My ex-wife used to say yins.
I'm like our peeps.
Or just yelled duck.
Our peeps. Let's just help out the peeps. I like that part. All right, my darlings, it has been a night. I am Nikki Jobin. I want to thank everybody for watching tonight.
I'm Diana Rachel.
Still with us. I'm going to do one last plug for our shop, that banner that I don't think I put up at all.
And plug my book.
Metaphysical.com.
I'm
getting there. I can only click so fast, woman. Hex Twisting pre-order link right there. Counter Magic for the Irritated Witch. That would be Diana. I'm in the book as the anecdotes of all the times I almost died.
Yes, very much so. And I'm the biter. We know this.
She's the biter. Yeah, I have pictures with bruises from that, just by the way. Urban Magic, Diana's book from last year. Reviews, you can set them up right there. And
so if you are looking to reclaim power or assert justice in your own cities, this is a pathway to do it. One pathway among many.
And as it is, we're all here. We have been left unsupervised. We had a great conversation, and I want to wish everybody a good night. Be safe.
Good night, everyone.